I'm telling you, I practically live on this stuff.
And it actually works? Like, really gives you decent energy?
Yeah, I pretty much cut out coffee entirely.
What? Where am I? Oh.
Hey, buddy, how you feeling?
Well, I've been abducted by a shady tavern keeping a feral goblin, so I've been better.
Oh, you haven't seen Feral yet. You don't want to see Feral.
Right. So, why did you kidnap me?
We're tier ranking Reddit's worst D&D house rules.
Oh, right. Do you have my script?
Yep, right here.
We better be getting free drinks out of this.
Yeah, I've got a tub of gamer subs here for each.
No, God! Ale is fine.
Yeah, I can do that. Welcome to the Twisted Pint Tavern. Today, we have a couple guests, those being Loot Goblin from Loot Goblin Marketplace and Drake from Den of the Drake. They're joining me to review and tier rank Reddit's worst D&D house rules. The ranking system we're using is S, actually a good rule, possibly even one we consider playing with, A, a rule so stupid it might actually work, B, not terrible but also not great, kind of a middle of the road why is this even here rule, C, a straight up bad rule, this one would actively make a game worse, and D, the worst of the worst, house rules born in the fires of the 9 hells, and also what we affectionately refer to as Drake's abandoned video bin. We reviewed a lot of house rules, and each made a video with our thoughts on different ones. So when you're done here, make sure to go check out Loot and Drake's videos to see the degeneracy in full. Also, the intros to their videos give a bit more context on the whole abducting Drake thing. Without further ado, let's get into the house rules. So we don't have an exact comment to pull up for this first one, but a lot of people were ranting about crit fumble charts. And so just in general, what do we think about them? I mean, in the sense of you roll a nat 1 and then you have another table that you have to roll on to determine anything from, you just miss your attack to you drop your weapon to you accidentally decapitate your buddy.
One of these seems a lot more extreme than the other ones.
Yeah, but that's what people don't like, I think, mostly about the crit fumble charts is how severe they are often made. Because you could have a low severity one and it's more for flavor than anything. I've done that where it doesn't have a mechanical effect. It's just explaining what kind of messed you up. Having it where it's like you decapitate your buddy, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it is based on just the threshold of silliness you guys are willing to handle, because wild magic kind of falls into that same category. I feel like sometimes the chart is very tame, but then people want to even beef up the wild magic chart to get more and more ridiculous.
That's me. I'm people.
Yeah, I'm also people.
I like extreme wild magic charts. They're so much more fun.
I need more ficuses in my life.
Yes.
Well, there is room for crit fumbles then, maybe, if you have the right table with the right humor. So
where
would we put that?
With
I
the
like
right
crit
table.
fumbles a lot. But a chart, I think you got a pretty cool thing going if you run it by your players first.
I think crit fumble charts get a bad rap because of the extreme, decapitate my buddy or I just stab myself in the stomach, right? And there is the argument to be made of it unfairly punishes marshals because they're inherently going to be attacking more often with the higher chance of rolling ones. Sure.
Exactly.
But let's be honest, if you've ever wielded a sword, when you start swinging it faster, no matter how skilled you are, there is more chance for something to go wrong, just numbers wise.
Yeah.
I think a crit fumble chart at its core could be fine if everyone at the table is like, yeah, I'm good to try a crit fumble chart.
Yeah.
But it needs to be moderated.
But also, shooting fire from your hands, the more fire you shoot from your hands, the more likely you're going to get burned,
Right, but there's no chart for that.
But we could make one.
We definitely could make one. And I'd be down for it. Where do we think this goes? I think...
Is this an A then, based on our discussion?
I kind of think B, because it's got such a wide range to it. I think crit fumble charts get a bad rap because of the way that I've used them, where they're more for flavor than anything. But because of how extreme they get, I also understand why people don't like them.
Yeah, when you start losing limbs and stuff, yeah, that's not gonna be a good time if you're crippling characters over it.
Yeah, then it's too punishing.
So it could literally go all the way to S, all the way to D. So I think center of the road B is our winner.
B it is.
Oh boy, it's a long one, guys. Strap in. Druids can't wild shape during the day.
Short and simple.
Yeah, short simple answer. No.
So wait, so it's lycanthropy, right? Is
that's got to be how they're flavoring it. All wild shape is a form of lycanthropy. Yeah,
it's a very diverse lycanthropy.
Is that Druid slander?
I think it's Druid
slander.
Yeah.
Is this Druid racism?
It might be.
No, I think it's just it's way too restrictive. And like most of your game time is going to be during the day. Most of the like when you're out wandering the road, typically you're resting at night and traveling in the day. So you've just completely restricted a core feature for 80 to 90% of your game.
The druids are just doing like solo missions at night while the rest of the party just need to sit there and long rest.
Yeah, I feel like druid is one of those like sleeper OP ones. Like it's such a weird flavored class and it's objectively like super powerful, but then it will have like weird restrictions where it's like, oh, it can't touch metal. And obviously there's like flavor reasons. And this feels like another one where if it was there from the beginning, people would weirdly defend it to death probably.
Yeah.
Just because druids always get that.
Well, because like you also got the people who just don't want anything to change.
Yeah, I think personally this one just goes straight to D tier. It's
Yeah.
way too restrictive, way too blanket of a rule.
I think D for let your druids turn during the day.
Yes.
So my ex-game master, after turning everyone off 2nd edition D&D in Germany, finally relented in playing 5th edition. His first deed, as we all know druids are bullshit, who shouldn't be shapeshifting, never leave their forest, and in general not be adventurers, to nerf them by doing the following. You are in Berserk form if you shift, you attack everything in front of you, and you can't stop till you are out of your animal form, which you aren't allowed to drop as a free bonus or any action. Truly a mystery why people keep quitting his games, huh?
So I want to come out the gate defending this in a very niche scenario.
Ooh, controversial.
Yeah, well, we gotta get the clicks, dude.
If it's during the day.
Yeah, if it's during the day.
Twisted Pint Tavern is over party.
No, I think like if I am playing in someone's game as a druid and I want to play this restricted character where I'm a druid because I have this type of lycanthropy where I'm not in control when I'm in animal form, I think that could be a really cool player kind of concept that would need a really good set of rules to make work well and not just punish the party. But I think that could be a fun character to like have that as their objective to work through and move past as a character goal. That's the only time I think this one would work. If you just have it as a blanket rule, all druids are berserking and attacking anything and cannot drop their wild shape as a free action, you have just turned every druid into a bomb.
You know what? You sold me.
All I'm thinking of now is like, yeah, it's kind of the archetype of like, I guess Hulk, where it would be annoying if he kept rampaging after the first movie, right? You want them to get a hold of it eventually narratively. Right. So, I mean, it definitely can work in a story.
Even if it's like a short-term temporary solution to the problem, like by level 2, they find an alchemist who can give them a serum that will suppress this, and it's a save. And then by the end of like level 5, they have an amulet that lets them be in control as long as they're wearing the amulet. And then by the end of like arc 1 or something, they've moved past this restriction. Like, I think if you had a good way to set it up for that player, it could be a fun, specific character. But for all druids, it's just terrible.
Yeah, and if you
it's
had
awful.
it where
God-awful.
Maybe like, I don't know, if you did like a silver weakness, kind of tying into the lycanthropy thing, where if you get struck by it, you go into a frenzy or something. So
yeah,
you have to avoid NPCs that have silver, and then not every NPC is going to have the silver weapon, so not every encounter has that threat. It could be an interesting
wild shape
mechanic.
Into a bowl and someone's wearing red, you just instant berserk mode.
You gotta go for him.
You have to.
No, I think D on this one.
Yeah, if you tie it to the specific form's weakness, like just whatever the species is known for being feral over, that could be interesting too.
Yeah, this is definitely a D. I kind of like the idea of it being like an individual character, like a lycanthrope, or you're like an omnithrope, which I'm trademarking that, the omnithrope. You turn into all the animals, but you can't control it. And
I like it.
I like the visual of like a berserk octopus just on dry land. Just like
a berserk like field mouse.
They can be on land for a startling amount of time, is my understanding.
Oh man, they're wild. Oh, don't get me started. I got a second channel all about animal science. I will talk about octopus all day.
Hashtag go watch Capybara.
Hashtag go watch Capybara. Yeah, D tier.
Yeah, D tier. Solid D tier.
Another druid D tier.
D for druids don't. I couldn't think of a
Druids
a good
don't
DM.
get to play the game anymore.
Boom, that's the one we're going for. Slap it, put it on a shirt.
Yeah. I once had a DM for an online game that said first level magic users being able to use magic items was OP and called me a rules lawyer when I said it's totally normal and showed him the rules online. Take a wild guess if we even got past session 0.
Slap it, put it on a shirt.
game-breaking, like first level magic item. I don't even know why you would have this rule. I can't think of a single one that would break the game at level 1 that you got appropriately.
Yeah, level 1 magic items are not common. Like you're fighting with like your basic short swords and like maybe you get a pointed stick if you're lucky, you know? But like what are you going to do? Are you going to cloak a billowing the BBEG guy to death?
Yeah, and at what point, like what's the threshold here? Is it all magic items? Is it just magic items that have a spell that comes out of them or something? Because if you're saying that every level 1 person can use the Cloak of Billowing except the wizard of all people, it doesn't make sense. The wizard probably accidentally made a Cloak of Billowing while he was at magic school. Like,
the guy playing the wizard didn't bring any snacks, so the guy was like, you know what?
I
got a new homebrew rule.
That's gotta be what it is.
Yeah.
Drank the last beer in the fridge, Greg.
No more Cloak of Billowing for you, Greg.
No more fun for you.
Maybe it's my RPG horror stories brain speaking too. The fact that he got called a rules lawyer either means this man's super confrontational out the gate, or that DM was not going to be fun, and that was just one of the many rules he had yet to learn about like their campaign. So maybe he lucked out.
Ooh.
Well, again,
right.
why the restriction from the DM on magic users? Like,
Just
if
don't
you
give
were to
them the
say
items.
level 1 characters in general can't use magic items, I still think it's a dumb rule.
Yeah.
But then you're at least fair about it. Why magic users?
Well, you see, my perspective here as our resident marshal bro, there are 2 kinds of people who deserve everything bad that happens to them, and those are mages and elves. So I'm okay with either of those guys getting f***ed. So I'm leaning on S tier. I don't know.
Nobody tell Drake that my first D&D character was an elf mage.
How dare you?
How dare you?
No, I think this
Nerd.
is D tier. I just keep
Definitely
getting
a
called
D
nerd
tier.
in my own video.
Yeah, nerd. Pick up an axe and lift weights, nerd.
You know, be a
Was
good
an
player
elf
like
mage.
me and play a half-elf ranger.
Yeah,
Oh,
why
yeah.
can't you be more like Loot?
No, I'm gonna get a complex from this collab. D tier.
What?
D tier. Moving on.
D tier.
Another D tier.
Yeah, we're really filling it in now.
I mean,
Don't-
they're all
don't
bad homebrew.
play
It lived up
wizards,
to its
they're
name.
cringe.
don't play wizards. They're cringe.
Naughty dice. The DM rolled a d6 before each session. On an even, we ran it normal. But on an odd, it was a naughty night. That meant that enemies were buffed, always went for the kill, and NPCs were all dicks. I don't know, this one seems fun.
I love it.
Like
I
at
love
level 2, a giant wasp becomes a wyvern, or no shop had arrows, or all skill DCs went up 5 to 10. I didn't last long in that shit show. Lol. That actually sounds really fun.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's something I would do for an entire campaign, but I would absolutely run a one-shot with naughty dice.
Yeah, that really does
I-
seem great.
I think you gotta play at least a few sessions
Well,
so you
yeah,
have
yeah.
like the taste of what's normal, and then out of nowhere you get a naughty night. But
It's
who's
something I
being
would-
naughty here though? Is it the DM being naughty? Is it the NPCs being naughty? Or is it just like the dice being
They
naughty?
got the
Or is it
naughty
just all of
affects,
the
just
above?
all the NPCs in the monster manual.
First off, I do gotta say that if someone ever came home and was like talking to their wife, and they were like, "Oh, how was your night?" "Oh, it was great. My dungeon master told us it was a naughty night." That's immediately a very different
Dungeon
setting.
master.
For,
Very
yeah,
different kind of dungeon master.
Yeah. But no, way
That's
back when
perfect.
way back when I started playing D&D the first time, I got these dice that were like the character traits kind of thing, because when I was first starting out, I wasn't great at just coming up with NPCs on the fly. So the one
Yeah.
that I still have that I love has the 7 deadly sins and then the 7 virtues to oppose it. So you could roll it and see like what drives this person. Are they greedy? Are they prideful, or are they, a good-hearted person who's charitable, things like that. And so I can connect a little bit to the whole rolling to see how this encounter is going to go. I think for the entire night, you risk it being a little excessive if it's an entire campaign long, but I absolutely would run a naughty dice minigame.
I think so too. This just seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah, you could do it per encounter, really.
ROP does seem like they're pretty salty about it, but like I don't know. It just sounds like a good time to me.
Sounds like
bring
fun.
on the naughty dice.
Bring on the naughty
The
dice.
name saves it. He did it
The name does
sarcastically
save
too. He put in quotes, but it made it better.
Yeah. He's like, this is really going to sell how bad this is. And we're like, oh, naughty dice. Okay.
Oh my god. I mean, maybe the naming convention could get some people into trouble coming home and telling their significant others that they just got back from naughty night. But other than that, this one's just kind of like a home run. I almost want to give it an S tier.
Yeah, 10 out of 10, no notes.
I think it is A tier, but the name alone, I feel like we have to give it S tier. Like, depending on the game, it's a good rule. Like, it could be fun.
You know what? It's naughty night on the tier list, guys. Let's go ahead and give it an S tier. It's naughty night.
Thank you for tuning in to Naughty Night with Den of the Drake, Zill from Twisted Pint Tavern, and Loot Goblin.
The link is in the description. Wink, wink.
Which kind of link?
You know the one.
We can't say it in the video, or the
We
video
can't
will
say
get
it, or
demonetized.
I will demonetize his video.
Yeah.
So we have two rules here. One, if you roll a nat 1 on an attack, you roll again against your own armor class with all modifiers to see if you hit yourself and apply damage with all modifiers. And 2, combat rounds are 30 seconds instead of 6, but spell times are not adjusted. So haste lasts 2 rounds instead of 10, makes a lot of spells basically worthless.
So the first one is pretty much just kind of going back to the crit fumble chart of an example of what you don't want on your crit fumble chart, because that's what people are upset about with that kind of thing. If you roll a nat 1, you punish yourself, it gets unfair for marshals, it gets problematic overall. So I think that that's a bad one. Combat rounds being 30 seconds instead of 6, but spell times are not adjusted. Yeah, that just scraps half the spells in the book.
I would feel a little bit better if it just didn't include modifiers, like maybe the weapon damage hits you, but not like your entire strength or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that feels bad, especially since, like, let's say you have like a dexterity character, right? Like, your modifier is reflective of how precise you are with your weapon, right?
You're not
So, like,
very
if
bulky.
you're so precise, you're not precisely accidentally stabbing yourself. You rolled a nat 1. The whole precision thing's gone out the window at that point.
Precisely got the vital artery, I guess.
Yeah, I precisely stabbed my own kidney.
Let's also factor in the weapon you might be using here, because sure, if you roll a 1 with a dagger, you could like nick your other arm or something on accident. But now you're using a rapier, a fucking 4-foot long sword that is pretty much just meant to be like sharp at the tip. How are you somehow turning it around a 4-foot blade with a 2.5-foot arm length and stabbing yourself with it?
Yeah, you could trip and fall pretty spectacularly.
You could trip and fall pretty spectacularly, I suppose.
There you go.
All right, S tier it
Anyway,
is. That's
TLDR,
decided.
S tier.
Yeah.
S tier.
I think that this one, dealing damage to yourself, is, again, it goes into the crit fumble chart kind of issue. If you are going to have a crit fumble system and not a chart, I think having a flat rule like this is the best way to do it, because it's consistent and everyone knows what to expect instead of the potential of, an instant kill or hurting yourself or something.
I would agree with that, but as written, I can't give it anything more than a C.
No, I agree. I think it's
Yeah.
definitely a bad rule. If you're going to have a system like this, it needs to be consistent and not just randomly punishing. But I think
Yeah,
it's
and not
way too
nearly as
over punishing.
punishing
Yeah,
either.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's even on a nat 1, you drop your weapon and have to spend the next round picking it up is a bad enough crit fumble rule. Like, that one's already not well liked.
Yeah,
so
it's basically
now
being stunned functionally.
Yeah.
Now you could potentially lead to character deaths at this point too,
Yeah.
that's not going to feel good.
And again, especially at low level, if you have 8 hit points and you're using a great sword and you roll a nat 1 and you get any combination on 2d6 that equals 8 or more, not even with a modifier, you're just dead. You're done.
That's just a new character right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
For the combat
That might as well
round-
be Rock's Fall. Everyone dies right at
yeah,
that point.
it might as well be. For the combat rounds lasting 30 seconds, but spell time's not adjusted, I also think that's a D tier. I know we're throwing a lot of these ones into D tier, but
This one's D for sure.
Yeah, if you want to adjust combat round timing so it makes a little more sense to you for the duration of stuff, it really doesn't matter that much. But you have to adjust spell times accordingly when casting combat. Because... And even going from 6 seconds to like 10 seconds wouldn't be as drastic of a change, but effectively you are reducing the duration of all time-based spells to 1/5 with this.
Yeah. I kind of get what he was going for. Like with the haste example, it lasts for 10 rounds, right? Like if your combat's gone for 10 rounds, I've checked out. Like I'm sorry, I'm sure you run a great game, I'm sure you're having a good time, but 10 rounds, I'm out.
It depends on the scale of the combat,
he was
but
going
for every little combat, yeah.
Yeah, if you have a party of 6, like you're gonna forget how many rounds.
Like if you're, for me personally, like 10 rounds of not 10 turns, like 10 everyone goes.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's like a big boss fight kind of thing with like multiple phases and stuff, I'm gonna struggle. So I can kind of relate to him being like, okay, well if you cast haste, then it might as well be just like forever. So I'm gonna go ahead and lengthen the combat rounds to make this spell less infinite.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, you fix that one spell you don't like at the cost of literally every other one.
That's what I was wondering too. Like, what's the methodology? Like, is it because they hate haste? I know they call it out specifically here, but yeah, it's assuming like, I get maybe Wizards of the Coast doesn't balance everything the best, but you know, not every spell's wrong. So completely changing it is going to fix 1 or 2 and ruin pretty much anything else. I don't know how concentration and different stuff would work this rule too. Or
yeah.
I'm sure it doesn't extend to short rests and stuff, but if he feels like spellcasters are too powerful, I'm assuming this is a guy who also prevents, you know, them replenishing their spells.
Yeah. And having played older editions, I can tell you that a lot of spells had drastically reduced durations back then versus now. So there are like half the spells in the book most of the time aren't even worth casting because I'm going to gain that benefit as a 10th level wizard for like 1d4 rounds plus 1 for every other level. So at most 9 rounds. Sure, according to what Drake was saying, like a 10 round combat, that might as well be the whole thing. But for like a 6th level slot is not worth it to have a medium effect for just a couple rounds.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to put this anywhere other than the D tier.
I think it's D tier. I definitely think it's D tier.
I agree. D tier it is.
A lot of low scorers this time around.
Yep. If we turn our eyes to the board, we can see that
these bad homebrew rules were bad.
But yeah, bad homebrew is bad. Shocker.
Damn. Whose idea was this to make it a tier list? That was dumb.
Yeah, we hate that guy, that's for sure.
That guy sucks.
I don't have the context recorded to put in for that. But it was Drake.
Well,
it was Drake.
That means it was definitely Mr. Pint who suggested we do a tier list and not me. Baby's first tier list.
Baby's first tier list.
Every video from now on a tier list. Tier lists every Saturday, boys.
Yeah. Tier list
Hell
every
yeah.
Saturday.
Next week, we're going to be doing every single Space Marine chapter and all 3 of the Hobbit movies in the same tier list.
In the same tier list. Okay.
In the same tier list. We're going to see how the Emperor Children's compare to the Desolation of Smaug. Every single Space Marine chapter and all 3 of the Hobbit movies in the same tier list.
In the same tier list. Okay.
In the same tier list. We're going to see how the Emperor Children's compare to the Desolation of Smaug.
How about them bad house rules, huh? If you want to see us review the rest of these rules that you can see on the tier list behind me, make sure you go check out Loot and Drake's videos, which will be linked in the description below. Thanks a ton to Loot and Drake for stopping by the tavern, willingly or otherwise, and thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and comment below the worst house rule that you've ever had to witness. And I'll see you in the next one. Oh, what? Hang on, I gotta go. Loot's throwing gamer subs tubs at people again.